All right, so we're back to our roots. Sweat equity, the AC's bugging.
Yeah, this is
Back to episode 1.
This is what it's all about. No matter how Hollywood it may look from the outside.
No, we're sweating.
The truth is it's 94 degrees in this office.
It is. So we both just came back from Europe. I started journaling while I was there. And the funny thing was we got a comment that was like, no, like, because in the last episode we talked about
we were getting way too deep.
We were. And then somebody kind of chirped us like,
the minute you leave America, you just feel like hustling and everything's not worth it. You know?
Yeah, a little bit. And so we got not chirped, but like funny comment about, no, like they need us to hustle.
Yeah.
But anyways, adding to the fire, I journaled. Jake, who's one of my good friends and also works for Marquee Examine, he was journaling. And I was like, and I've always wanted to try to build a habit, but I never wanted to spend ample amount of time on like 10 minutes journaling in the morning.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? Let me try it there. And like, let me try to do, continue to do it when I get home. And so been doing it since after the wedding, ongoing until today. And so something that I wrote down was just like lessons from Europe, like little things that I was observing, because for the first time in, I think it was 3 years, I legitimately shut down my laptop, or I didn't open my laptop. Like, I wasn't looking at emails. I wasn't looking at Slack.
Yeah.
I was only opening my laptop when I wanted, like I was inspired something and then I wanted to do more research on it that night or whenever it was. And so I wrote down some things that I thought about a lot while I was there. So first one, the smartest person isn't the person that makes the most money. It is the person that wants us to live a specific life and then figures out how to live it.
I like that.
And
lifestyle design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second thing added to that was you could be making $100 million a year, right? And be absolutely miserable because of the life that you live to attain that money. Like totally. At that point, you just have a skill. Mm-hmm. Like making money is really just a skill. And so the way I thought about it was, if you are a bank, you either can have daily withdrawals or daily deposits. If you are miserable and you have that, you're living that life that does make you miserable, every day you're having withdrawals. You're getting withdrawn your energy from stress, anxiety, overworking, not being in like your strength zone, like all of those things. Those could be things that are essentially withdrawing all of your energy and getting into a place where you're not happy. Not to just say like,
well, time is the currency, right? I mean, ultimately that's the funny thing about like the Sahil Blooms of the world is they are right, even though it sounds like a fortune cookie. Like they are correct that, Time Billionaire has more money. Like Warren Buffett would trade places with both of us right now,
100%.
And so, daily withdrawals is a good way to look at it. You're losing time and really your soul, dude. When you're doing stuff that doesn't really align, like that's what you're getting killed on.
100%. But then the inverse is you can be making $1 million, but have deposits every single day this goes back to what that guy said about like being soft, but you could have daily deposits of gratitude and being happy and like spending time with your family and and freedom and like all these deposits where every single day you can't wait for the next day, right? Like you go to bed like, oh, I can't wait to do the thing again.
Are you going to grow your hair out and pivot to like ayahuasca?
No,
and kind of like there's a direction that's brewing here that might concern the audience.
This is the only
I'm just curious
thing that I wrote.
You can let me know. I don't even know if it's Aaron Rodgers so much as like the guy that is always you see in couples retreat.
Yeah.
Like the guy that's
karma into you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like the life coach, he's just handsome and jacked and 45 and might take your wife by accident.
Never going down that route. But I was, and that's where the conversation started about like even what you and I were talking about earlier of like, okay, how can we design our life and what products can we create and what things can we do that
totally.
we can. And part of it too was I had so much fun with Zara these last 2 weeks, and I don't want to say never, but like
you get to be really present with her.
Yeah, I got to be super present with her, and I have a blast.
Yeah.
So the other one was sell with passion. So I went into, you and I talked about trying to find like stores, like kind of just finding like hidden gems while you shop, right? Mm-hmm. You and I both love fashion and shopping. And so,
I mean, I got a see-through shirt on right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's a love of fashion.
The other one was they're so focused on experience. And again, American vintage. I walk in, but there's multiple stores that walked into Louis Vuitton, and Louis Vuitton, obviously, as soon as you sit down and like you're ordering something, right? One, they get you a specific person to help you shop. So
Yeah.
that was cool.
Concierge.
Yeah. And then as soon as you sit down, they bring you a mimosa, they'll bring you champagne, they'll bring you OJ, they would bring in Zara stuff, they would bring Vanessa stuff, right? And so in Louis Vuitton, and they're tailoring the experience and making it like such a good experience so that one, you spend more. What I noticed though as well was a lot of European stores, because Europeans drink so much coffee, we would go into American Vintage. We went into some running store, dude, and they all had these counters with espresso machines on it that you can just make an espresso or have somebody make you an espresso right then and there.
Nice.
And so when I think about that, I think about like ALD, and they have their cafe, but at the same time, that's
Cafe's
a cafe,
separate from the store though.
It's separate from the store, and you also have to purchase it.
Yeah.
Versus here, it's like, just have a coffee while you shop.
Yeah.
And so that just made me think so much about experience and how you can do these little things that are like the cherry on top to a purchasing experience that make you more, or you have more affinity towards a brand, but also get you to spend more money. Like the fact that I walk in and like he starts talking to me and starts talking to me about everything, and then makes me an espresso, I feel like we're friends now.
I've spent money because I'm guilty that I'm about to not spend money on the person who was taking care of me.
At this point, I'm investing in this person, not
Totally.
the brand. And then that person's why then I like the brand.
If they're getting any sort of commission, I do this at stores. They'll be like, do you want to sign up for an account? I'm like, what do you get?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, I'll give you my number if you get like a little bonus.
Yeah, if you
and
get
then
a
if they
cut.
say nothing, I tried to slip the guy, I haven't told my passport story publicly, but I almost didn't get to come to your wedding because my passport was expiring a month from the date of the travel. And I go to CVS in Houston, and initially they told me they weren't going to help me. And then this dude was like, yo, I'll get you real quick, whatever. So to help, to take care of him, I was like, yo, here's $100 tip. Please take it. Bro couldn't take it. And I was like, come on, like under the table. And he was like, no, I can't take it. It's tough, like
Why?
they're not allowed at CVS, like to
Just
take
Cash
tips.
Apps?
He was like, it's on camera, whatever, And so, but just to that point, it's like people, a lot of these retail folks, like they do get commissions. They, if they become a stylist, if they actually take care of you, they make money.
And then the last two, these are fast. One, dress better.
Yeah.
The other one, dress better. In Paris, man, like we stayed at a nice hotel. We would go down to breakfast at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Dude, everyone is dressed to a T at breakfast at the hotel.
Totally.
They look phenomenal.
Yeah.
You couldn't differentiate who was rich, who was middle class, who was poor, because everyone looked great. And it wasn't, and when I say great, I don't mean they had a bunch of jewelry. I don't mean they were like extremely flashy. I mean, they just looked, their outfits were so well put together. And then I actually did more research on it, and it's almost like a rule in Italy and like with the French people, it's like, it doesn't matter what you do, you always look your best.
Yeah.
And I loved that. And it made me and Vanessa, both me and Vanessa were paying attention so much to what people wear. And not from like a envious standpoint, more so looking at and like learning and trying to take some of it home.
Yeah.
And one of the days Vanessa was wearing like these jean shorts and like a corset kind of thing. And she was like, I feel like I can make this look so much better if I just went and got a blazer. And she goes and gets a blazer, and it completely flipped the whole fit. Like she literally like, I don't know, like she just looked more mature because of it.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't see athleisure in Paris. At least I didn't. And I was paying attention. You don't see like women in leggings.
No.
You don't see any of that. You
No.
don't see people like just chilling in sweatpants, walking around from place to place. And so just dressing better and caring about how you look, even if, because you go about your day so differently. Even if you're going to the coffee shop or you're working at home. Like yesterday I worked at home. I was in a nice fit the entire day until, boy, I looked solid yesterday.
Crazy.
Shit was tucked in. I had loafers. Like I was looking
This
good.
is like a COVID take. It's like, if you're going to take that Zoom call, take it in a blazer.
But like I felt different, and I also felt like I could just power through. That was one thing. I felt like I could just power through my day, even though I've been sleep deprived and kind of feeling sick. I just felt like I could power through my day. And then the last one is just walk more, dude. I never crashed, and I was eating creme brulee like every meal.
Yeah,
I was eating creme brulee. I never drank Coke, and like I was drinking a Coke. Like all of these things. I never hit a wall because we were just constantly walking. We ate and then walked from here to there.
Yeah, I will say that being so close to the American food system from a content perspective with a lot of these like supplements and food brands. So I'm always trying to look for the new kind of scare tactic. I'm always looking for the new scare tactic, and then going to Europe and being like, wow, this strawberry has color to it. Like, why are strawberries gray in the United States? Like, it really is crazy how much of an impact that lifestyle has. But ultimately, it's American money, European time. You can't, when we were talking to the kids at your wedding, it was really interesting because a lot of them were like, yeah, I would do anything to go to America because I would actually have like a chance.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, we don't. Like, there's nothing I can do here, So it goes both ways.
100%.
They got plenty of time to walk around because they really got no motion out there. I don't even want to say it. I love the Italians, but
I think it's
true.
different in Buccine than
for
Paris.
For sure.
A place like Paris or
yeah,
London.
definitely. I think the Parisians, they're chilling too, though. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll never forget coming out of a club in Paris at 4 a.m. and we're walking the streets, and for whatever reason, every single cafe, like every single patio, is just jumping.
Yeah.
They're eating dinner. It's 4 a.m. and they're just eating a full meal, pasta with clams. You walk down, sit down, like, smoke a cigarette, drink a glass of wine with a random Parisian. It's just a different system they got going on. Bro. Yeah. I don't get, you can't run your life waking up at noon the next day.
No.
But they don't care. So that's great.
But to the actual marketing stuff. So today I'm going to be talking about Imogene, right?
Yeah, Imogene and Willie.
Okay, Imogene and Willie.
Yeah.
Clothing brand in Nashville, but also here in Austin. And this project that they started called the Cotton Project. And essentially, what I'm going to
be... when I was looking them up, I saw the Cotton Project. It raised an eyebrow.
The name.
Yeah, I was like, the Cotton Project with that state outline.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like,
because it's in Alabama.
Yeah,
I just said that so weird.
It's like, Louisiana through North Carolina. And you're like, what is this outline here? I've seen this in a textbook before. Whatever. Let them cook. Let them cook.
But I'm going to be talking about essentially the power of storytelling and how you can use it to sell a $10 shirt for a $10 basic t-shirt.
Yeah.
For $56. And I'm going to be doing a deep dive on how they leverage the hero's journey, how they do their social rollout, how they leverage the storytelling within that, all of that. What you got?
Honestly, let's just cook on that.
Here's what I think is amazing about Imogene and Willie. So, and this is to me the power of storytelling, where you can sell, again, $10 shirt for $56. So for people that don't have context, this is a clothing brand, started in Nashville. They have a store here in Austin. But the biggest thing about them is they're a brand committed to producing all of their clothing in the U.S. Okay, and so that is like the core of that brand and that brand's narrative. I think, which is what you're going to talk about next week, is manufacturing everything in the U.S. But they just launched a basic tee for $56. I'm talking about a white tee that you would get at H&M for $6. Mm-hmm. And again, it probably feels a lot different. But I just mean like a basic white tee.
Yeah.
One white tee costs $56. Two of them cost, I think it's like $98.
It's pricey.
It's pricey, right? And again, this is coming from people that like to shop. We like to buy clothes.
I can't anymore. I got to cut myself off.
Yeah. After Paris, I'm done too.
Yeah.
But the reason that they can sell and charge at that price, and the reason people will buy it, is because of storytelling. So let me walk you through it. So there's the hero's journey. You're familiar with it. I'm familiar with it. If anybody isn't familiar with it, the hero's journey is essentially when there's a movie or some story being told, is the journey that the individual goes on to then achieve a specific thing. It's used in almost every good movie, from The Lord of the Rings, right? Like you could actually look at a lot of breakdowns of the hero's journey for Lord of the Rings, all the way to Man on Fire, just to show range.
Yeah.
Here.
Shout out Denzel.
Yeah. Again, talking about being jet lagged, 1 a.m. today and I couldn't sleep. I was like, let me just put on Man on Fire.
Throw it on.
And banger. But just to show range, like you look at both movies, they're going through the hero's journey. So what is the hero's journey? And what are the steps? I'm just going to read them out loud. We'll show a graph. I know you guys have been saying show more images. Charles put this in the video. The first thing is this individual gets a call to an adventure. They have the refusal of the call where like maybe it's going to be challenging, like I don't want to do it. Then they meet with a mentor, somebody that then is like, hey, you can do the thing. Here's how you're going to get
Obi-Wan
to it.
Kenobi.
Yes.
He just appears before Luke.
Yes. Then you cross the threshold. You have tests, allies, and enemies. You start approaching the challenge. You start going through an ordeal. You start getting a reward, and it starts to be promising. Then you have to take the road back. There's a resurrection, and then you return with the thing, right? And this is as I break this down, this is more so for a movie. But when you actually look at the hero's journey, you can take your products and you could take what you do as a company and you can run it through a hero's journey as well and be able to tell those stories to people and get people to align with your brand and your product and essentially get them to buy the $56
Well, and
shirt.
the call to action or the call to purpose, what was it called?
At the beginning, it starts with the call to adventure.
Call to adventure. The call to adventure, you see this over and over and over again. And we kind of talked about it I talked about it on the last week's episode is I launched this company because I was personally victimized by this problem. Like that singular hook is so effective for telling your hero's journey.
Yep.
Because you're immediately connecting with people that also experience that problem. The protein cookie guys, we talked about them a million times. Like they could not find a dank protein cookie. So they were two meatheads that wanted to produce protein cookies. And they didn't think that there was any out there that fit their standard. Like that is such a simple way. Carne Shabu, OG sweat equity, right? I wanted to, get my protein up, but I didn't like any of the current sources because of XYZ. Because you say, I didn't like any of the sources of current protein, now you have opened up the opportunity to say why.
Yes.
They have GMOs in them, or they are processed, or they're not ethically raised. They have too many hormones in the beef, whatever it is. What you've then done is set the table for your unique selling propositions. You now can say, we're none of that. I wanted to create a solution because I was personally victimized by these specific things. Now our product doesn't have any of those things. In the customer's head, those are all bad. Therefore, please introduce it to me. So it's like the hero's journey. It kind of gets talked about storytelling wise, but you can laser it into a business sense and just think about like, I was personally victimized by this thing. So I was called to go solve that problem. This is the reason I was called.
And that's exactly, so like if you, let me send you the link, but if you go to this link and you read their actual story around the cotton project, yeah, you'll see the hero's journey being told. So it starts with 4 years ago, we embarked on a challenging but incredibly rewarding journey, right? That's their call to adventure. It has the refusal of call, meeting with, crossing the threshold, all of those things. 4 years ago, we embarked on a challenging but incredibly rewarding journey out the gate. The idea itself was simple. We wanted to take our commitment to domestic manufacturing to the next level, beginning with our tried and true staple, a plain white t-shirt. To accomplish that feat, we would work to oversee every step of production for a tea, all the way from the planting of a cotton seed to when the tea is packaged and sent to its forever home. After embarking on that journey with a lot to learn, going through years of both challenges and victories, we're excited to see the long labor of love come to fruition and to do it all within 400-mile radius from Nashville. I can take bits and pieces of all of those different, like those sentences, and attach them to each part of this hero journey, or part of the hero's journey.
Yeah.
And so this is a phenomenal way to understand, hey, my product has a story, or my brand has a story. But in this case, my product that I'm launching has a story, where so many brands will just be like, hey, we're working on this collection. Let's launch the collection. Imogene Willie was like, hey, this is the story behind the last 4 years of this collection and why we're doing it. And they do it to a point where they know their customers so well. And I'll get into this as well, that they know what hero's journey to tell. That's the other important thing here. But again, when you break this down piece by piece, the hero's journey is very obvious. They embark on a 4-year journey with a specific goal. They didn't think it could get done. They had a ton of challenges along the way, but they ended up persevering through it, and they returned with a finished product. That finished product is now this white tee.
Yeah.
Right? That is the hero's journey. And that is how you get somebody, again, to not see this as a $10 product, whereas I go to H&M and I'm just like, that's a $10 tee.
This was made in a sweatshop.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I now look at this as there's a story here.
Yeah.
We talked about this on like episode, I don't know what it is, in the first 10 episodes, where there was a study done that it showed, hey, if I went to, let's say, Best Buy, and I buy a record player, and it cost me $100, and I don't think anything of it. I just wanted a record player, and I went and bought a record player, right? I got the thing. But if I go to a garage sale, and there's a record player for $100, and I start talking to the person that's selling the record player, and they're like, well, like that was my great grandpa's, and it was passed down to my grandpa, and now I'm selling it just because, we're moving, we want to take minimal stuff, but that was the record player that like was the life of our parties growing up.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, there was a study that said like you're going to value that so much more than going to Best Buy and buying the record player.
Totally.
Right? Just because of the story that's attached to this record player. And so by Imogene and Willie, by taking the story that they created for the product, you now value this t-shirt so much more than the other t-shirt that you can buy at Zara's or H&M, or I don't want to say Buck Mason because I'm sure they do some storytelling, but like any other brand, unless that brand is doing.
But this is Imogene and Willie differentiating from Buck Mason. Make no mistake. Those are very, very similar brands.
Exactly.
And now they're giving you a reason to root for them rather than Buck Mason just being retail,
100%. And the other interesting part here is the key is how well they know their customer base, because in reality, you can tell a lot of heroes' journeys, or a lot of stories around a hero's journey, right? There's a lot of stories you could tell. As a marketing team, it's your job to be able to tell stories. And there's a ton of stories that could have been told. For example, like why it's priced roughly $60, who's making it, why they wanted to keep it close to Nashville. Like those are all stories that they could have told.
Yeah.
But my guess is by looking at the data within email, SMS, their paid ads, anything that they've done in the past, there's data points to point to, hey, our customer base really resonates with the fact that we're trying to keep everything manufactured in the US. Mm-hmm. So we're going to build the hero's journey around that. And so for anybody that wants to figure out like, okay, what hero's journey should I tell? Be looking at your top email and your top SMS and your top organic content and paid ads and whatnot to find out, hey, what stories are people resonating with? What is that core story that somebody resonates with that now I can build a larger story, or I could world build essentially around that? This, unless you want to add anything, this is the first amazing thing that they did for this kind of launch.
Yeah. Keep cooking.
Cool. The second one is, I think it was 2-3 episodes ago, I talked about how important BTS is and why brands should integrate BTS into their content strategy. So the second thing that they did amazing was they started sharing the BTS process. In that same article I shared, if you actually scroll down a little bit, they start to share the 3-step process to completing the cotton project. So step 1 was the farm that they partnered with to plant all of the cotton. Then step 2 was the other company or the other manufacturer that they sent for all of the cotton to be turned into threads. And then the third and last one was, hey, then this was the manufacturer who eventually turned it into a t-shirt. Now, the thing that I love was how they supported all of that with the BTS imagery. That is key. They actually took you along for the ride and kind of helped you visualize that story, right? This is where that saying is a picture's worth 1,000 words. Is all of this imagery helps me see it getting made versus just you telling me how it was made. I think this is key. Whether it's
not replicable.
It's not replicable. This is your one of one. Your process is your one of one.
Totally. Or just highlighting that there are real people doing this job. Yeah. Everyone feels so disconnected from the goods that they're buying day to day. And if you're hoping to charge anything reasonable like this, then I would almost say this is like the bare minimum. Yes. You have to talk about like what you at least have to layer on some sort of story. Like the brand I was going to talk about is that one I sent you, Drôle de Monsieur. Did you get a chance to go to their store?
I didn't go to the store, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Everything about them is very similar.
I just stopped going to stores.
Yeah. This one would have cleaned you out too, because they charge a lot for their stuff too. It's kind of like designer, and it's the same thing where it's like, okay, well, there's at least like a consistent narrative applied to every single thing that they do, rather than just like. I think you see this a lot with a lot of American brands. Actually, I can think of like 5 that are just. Like Taylor Stitch. I don't know. Have you ever seen Taylor Stitch?
I have.
Them and
2 of their pants.
Yeah. So I feel like they're a brand that does zero storytelling.
Yeah.
They just are banking on
aesthetics.
They're banking on this is a great on trend static image ad. And we're going to run a, cost to acquire LTV game.
Yeah,
right?
Another company that did that as well was like Cuts.
Yeah, but he's doing better now.
He's getting into storytelling now.
He's
but,
doing the Soho trouser. You saw that?
Yeah.
They did a pretty good.
But don't you remember for like 3 years, every Cuts ad was just like a guy walking, going,
For sure. Yeah.
like
yeah.
your move,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
suit.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, when they
homie was-
shoot me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is very much so. I think like, he's got a great opportunity with this current collection. He's trying to move into lifestyle clothing and apparel. It's actually a pretty good on-trend product. The trouser,
Looks
but
good.
made with the cuts, kind of more comfortable. Like Viore and all. He's currently competing with Viore and Lulu.
Yeah.
Not going to win that. So like, why would you not compete in a different realm, which is on-trend designer? Not necessarily designer though, approachable price point, but talk a little bit about like the story behind it, the why. I think he's done a better job there. It's just the bare minimum these days because people are just so used to everything. There's so much flooding. I experience this myself, dude. If you click on an ad for shorts, you will see 5 shorts ads. Like Meta knows what they're like. Oh, this guy's maybe interested in shorts. Let's give him 5 more options.
It happened to me with like I want to get like certain necklaces. Like in Italy, you always have like 2-3 gold necklaces.
Yeah.
So I was looking at gold necklaces.
I mean, I don't.
I guess that's not your move.
This is the edgiest I'll go.
Yeah.
Freeing the nipple right now.
Took Vanessa's wedding dress, cut that bitch up, and
And I don't know how 4K this is, but hopefully
bitch is
people aren't
see-through.
seeing.
That's like when I used to have a pair of Air Forces that were see-through back in the day.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then I thought about it, I'm like, it's so gross because it like eventually turns yellow and it's like it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And like when your feet are hot, it gets foggy in there. It's like it's such a bad idea.
That is crazy.
Yeah, you've never seen that?
No.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, you should look that up.
See-through Air Force.
The third thing that they did that was amazing was how they rolled this out. Yeah.
These are gross.
They're disgusting. They're disgusting.
This is some real mid 2010
Like
shit.
there's some real Florida swamp boy type shit.
Totally. Yeah, that's crazy.
I was wearing these bitches in 8th grade.
Yeah,
Swear to
no.
God.
Got the
See through. No
that's crazy.
socks.
Yeah, just
No,
parading
the
around.
no
I
socks
bet you
is-
ran middle school. I know you were big as hell. So big in
bro.
middle school though.
The funny thing was, I went into middle school playing center and like power forward. By the end of middle school, boy, I was the point guard.
Yeah.
I was like, what happened? Why'd everyone grow and I'm just the same height?
Those guys had all the fun though, I'll say that. Like
What?
being like 6th grade and like oversized, that must have been sick. That's a good life because you're just abusing people.
No,
in
this
sports.
is TMI for the pod, but we'll leave it in there. Bro, I was oversized too quick. In 3rd grade, I'll never forget, it was like summer camp. My mom was a teacher, and so we had like after school programs and all of that. And so I was in 3rd grade, and I remember we had like a water balloon fight because them shits were popping back when we were kids,
You were
right?
just a huge target.
No, it wasn't that, but like everybody had a cut off shirt, right?
Oh yeah.
And nobody had like hair on their legs. Bro, I had armpit hair. Like full armpit hair.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to do like throws like this.
You were going
instead of-
side-on.
You know what I'm saying? Instead of throwing like this. Cause I'm like, yo, nobody else has this.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I just remember being like, oh, there's something up here. Like, why can nobody else
That's crazy.
touch the net? Like, why can nobody else touch the backboard? Like,
That's
it
crazy.
was funny.
crazy.
But anyways, Imogene and Willie, the third thing that they did amazing was their social rollout. So I always talk about like tease, hype, launch, push, pull, right? Like when you're actually launching some initiative, when you're launching a product, what framework are you following? They did it very well. And they're also doing it with the things that are hot and relevant on social, right? Like BTS carousels, they're working right now. Like they're working tremendously well for all sorts of brands. And so to kick it off, they had one post that was their teaser post coming soon, the Cotton Project, one of their biggest endeavors, XYZ. And it was kind of like a carousel of a little bit of like the BTS process, right? Then they launched it. They introduced it. They could have done a little more to hype it up and like share. I think they should have, which I'll get into, but they should have done another carousel with just kind of one-shot videos. But anyways, the next thing that they did was they introduced the actual Cotton Project. One thing that I liked was they were storytelling in the caption, not just introducing the Cotton Project, link in the bio for the full story. Like they legitimately told the story in the caption, and then the carousel that they essentially walk you through is this mix of BTS and product. And so it would show like all of the threads and then product, and then the cotton getting cut and then product. And I really like that mix of Jacquemus does a really good job of it as well, where they'll show like a BTS of something, or they'll just show something that catches your eye, then product, catch your eye, product. And they did a very good job of this. And then they continued to then educate you on then the Cotton Project T, right?
You're still tuning in. We can't fake this, okay? Yeah, this is the sweat equity toss.
Basically, the power just went out.
There's an extreme heat warning.
Yeah, the power just went out. I think it was too hot. And we're going to continue recording the pod. We opened up the bay doors. Hopefully we don't get robbed this time.
Yeah.
We're going to finish the pod. All right, so third thing that they did that was amazing was, again, carousels are popping on IG. They introduced the actual product, which they've been kind of telling the story. They teased it, then they told a story about the Cotton Project, and now they're introducing the actual product. Again, I actually like that they're telling a larger story in the caption. Again, driving you to the CTA. The carousel is now a mix of the campaign, the team behind it, and the actual product getting developed, which I like. Obviously, our Wi-Fi went out, so I can't keep going through everything. But the one thing that I added to this, that I look at this and I say, okay, well, what could be better? And I think that's just how our brains work. And so there's two things that I think could have been better. In my opinion, they could have dialed in long form and short form. A lot of it was a carousel, and then they had one short form clip, and maybe they have more coming out, but there was one short form clip that was like about the Cotton Project. The first thing is, I think this could have been a 30-minute to hour-long documentary.
Yeah.
You know, I think they could have hit a Yeti, Patagonia type doc that showed the 4 years of development to try to manufacture something in the US that isn't just pushing the T, it is setting the standard for manufacturing in the US and is now like the blueprint for other brands to be able to manufacture in the US.
This is one of the craziest things that I think has transformed all of marketing in the last few years is their investment in this campaign. It was a great campaign. It might go nowhere because they did not take enough lottery tickets by investing in the content piece.
Yep.
If they had tripled down, this type of thing, you should be able to have, 25, 30 short form videos, easy money, right? A couple of long form YouTubes, like you're saying, great ideas, totally. And a savvy brand with great brand marketers still does not understand
at all
the impact that would have on the rest of their business if they just invested in the content piece more.
100%.
This would be completely viral,
yes.
Right? If they had really, really doubled down, because you put this into the TikTok algorithm, I promise you, like people are going to start talking about they're doing the Cotton Project. Like there's going to be so many different ways that this plays into culture. People just don't take those lottery tickets when they should because they're like, oh, this is cool, and that's not enough anymore.
Yeah. Again, going back to the phrase of a picture's worth 1,000 words, like, well, how much is video worth in this case?
10,000,
right? Like, is it 10,000? Is it 100,000? Is it 1 million? Like, what is it actually worth? And so when we talk about this hero's journey, what do you think would be more impactful? Them writing out the hero's journey, or a 1-hour doc or 30-minute doc showing the hero's journey, right? Now, the second part then is the social pillars. And this is now where I'm thinking more short form. When you look at the hero's journey, right, there's like 10 or 12 different pieces to the hero's journey. Every part of the hero's journey, when you're going back to 25, 30 pieces of content, each part is its own story. The call to the adventure is one story. The returning back, or the challenges, the enemies, like all of those things are different stories that can be told in micro stories versus the macro story, right? There's a reason why movies like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and like those movies will sell millions of dollars in merch every single year. Yeah. Right. And so you want to think about that through that same lens of, okay, I'm basically creating a movie so that I can sell product. Right. Now, that's part one. Their BTS carousels, we talked about Lacoste last time. I think they could have done better with the BTS carousels, where it's a lot of simple one-shot videos focusing on like essentially piece by piece. So whether that's the cotton getting cut, whether that's cotton getting turned into threads, like just simple carousels showing one-shot videos. And then I also think they could do styling. Like they have that kind of dope Charles styling, the way I feel like you know what I mean. Like that like kind of
edgy white guy.
Yeah, styling.
Loves IPAs.
100%. Doesn't like IPAs, just drinks IPAs because of like what it is.
Yeah.
And so I think styling is the other thing. And so like having those social pillars, so understanding documentation, BTS, and then again, going back to what I learned in Europe about being a stylist, be these people's stylist on IG. Show them how to style that white tee for specific occasions that your customer base would do. So that's what I got. I know we got to wrap up. You have a call in 7 minutes. I have a call in 7 minutes. I got no power.
Yeah, we have no power. I'm hotspotting. I was thinking about it. I'm a hotspot from here, I think. So I'll lock.
I'm hot spotting right now. I'm just hot in this spot.
Yeah, it's toasty.
That was terrible.
We're gonna get out of here right now.
Yeah, I'm getting in the whip.
We'll catch y'all later.
All right, y'all.